Welcome to Positive Waves. My name is Matthew Collinson, and this is my great friend,
Joseph Somma.
And today we have Mary-Frances on the show again today. Welcome back, Mary-Frances. We love having you here.
Thank you for having me. I love to be here with you all.
And today we'd like you to kick us off with that story you were just telling us a little while ago, so we can give it to our audience and let them use the knowledge.
Absolutely. So I love my hairdresser, and she is very talented. Of course, she knows how to style hair. She's a magician. She knows how to hide my gray hair. I love her for that. But there was one day I was sitting in her chair, and she told me a story. She asked me, she said, "Do you know how a lobster grows?" No, I don't know how a lobster grows. Never really thought about it. She said, "Well, as long as a lobster lives, it will grow. And as long as it grows, it will continue to live." And, when you think about it, there are men that have come out of the ocean with a lobster so big that they hold it up and it's as big as them. You're like, I wonder how old that lobster is. So when she told me how they grow, it became even more fascinating. She said, a lobster grows so big inside of its shell that it literally breaks out of it, kind of like the Incredible Hulk out of his clothes. And when he does, he's all pink and he's tiny and he's very vulnerable because his skin is so tender. So he climbs back in his hole and he takes all of the rocks around him and he builds a fort around himself. And he stays in that little hole, his home. And every day, a shell hardens around him, and it gets thicker and thicker day by day. And eventually, it becomes hard enough and strong enough that he can come out and he can face the world and be his lobster self again. There's been often times in my life that I have been like that lobster. I've died 1,000 deaths. I've literally been on the floor wailing, not being able to get up because I was in my deepest, darkest place and I didn't know how to pull the rocks in. Little did she know that day, she probably saved my life because not knowing I was in that funk until she told me that story, I didn't know how to get out of my funk. And it was the realization that it's okay to be in that cave of mine, but it's what I do to help strengthen and rebuild myself that will make me come out the next day as being a stronger, more powerful individual to help impact each other. So with this story, what I've come to now, thank you, Lauren, is every day when you sit on the edge of your bed, you have a choice. You can sit there and stew, or you can rise, shine, and grind and face the day. It's your choice. What do you choose to do? And that is the knowledge I took from a $35 haircut to today. Your hair person, your hairdresser does not get paid enough for the magic they do sit in their chair.
I love that, Mary-Frances. That's a great story.
Thank you.
I love how the universe always puts in front of us exactly what we need at the exact moment we need it. That is like the perfection of the universe right there is what it sounds like. You were at like your tether's end, man. You were done. And this random act of kindness, which is also a book, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a really good book. We masterminded on that one time, but super cool stuff with just those small acts of kindness. Like a smile can change somebody's day. Thank you. How are you? You know, Mother Teresa would say, don't let any person feel like they are alone, essentially. I mean, I don't think that's the exact quote, but it was something along those lines. I'll put the quote in the description or something for people. But I just think that that saves lives in itself.
It does. It does. Robin Williams hid for so many years um, behind that paper plate smile. Nobody ever knew how depressed he was. But sometimes it is the most depressed person that will try their hardest to cheer up people around them, and they get hidden in the shadows.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's some of it's trained in our society. I feel like we were so taught that, especially as on the masculine side of energy, men are really like raised to, or were raised, not so much anymore. I find the next generation's a lot more in touch with their inner selves and their inner being, which is great to see, honestly. Because it's like we should be able to open up to each other. We should be able to talk to each other. We should be able to be like, well, I'm having kind of a crap day today, and this is what's going on, and be open about it as opposed to being like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's great. Everything's all good, which I've been guilty of or told I was guilty of essentially because people think I bury my head in the sand because I bring a lot of joy when I'm out and about and doing things, but they all feel like I'm just imagining the limitless factor, the abundance factor. Essentially, it's just a thought process, though. It's just a perception, as everything is in life. And that perception of like the lobster, for instance, allows people to be like, oh yeah, I need to kind of go inward and be buried with these rocks that are going to help me grow into this better being, uh, and continuously grow in their case. Because I know my uncle used to do lobster fishing and also fishing up in Alaska, and then they did the lobsters on the East Coast. And the East Coast, I know those lobsters were gigantic. Apparently, they were bigger than I was, like sometimes. So at the time, and that was crazy how big they get. But I think we all have that potential of limitless growth within us too.
Mhm. That's very true. That's very true. And if you don't mind, please, I'm going to correct you. You said we all could show our emotions. We all can. It's we choose not to. And that's powerful. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show your emotions. You know, Friday and Saturday, I was in a room with 30 other people, some of the what looked like the strongest men, and the shit that they went through as children. And they were being vulnerable enough to share that in a room full of strangers. And not only did they help themselves heal, they helped a lot of people in the audience heal because they did share. You realize I'm not the only one that has been through what I've been through. Yes, we can all be in the same boat, but when we get to the destination, we're all going our own ways. And, from here to healing, we're going our own ways. When you get on the boat, we all came from our own ways. And that's so powerful when you realize it's okay to be imperfect. You don't have to be an A student all of the time because you're going to stress too much. Be a B or a C student. You're still learning. You're less stressed. You'll probably get more out of it.
I was the worst student in all the land. But I'm also not a corporate person either, so that makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. I think it's funny how our school was built around employees and that kind of thing, because that's how it was initially built. And we've continued that trend until more recently. I see a lot of changes shifting now. Finally, I think things are going in a positive direction. It's funny because I find that I guess I heard that it was a European state, or not state, but a European country. I want to say it was Denmark or something. They were like one of the number one schools in like the world, and they were like outside the majority of the time, and they only go for a few hours a day.
They do. They do. And their work week is totally structured differently than ours. They work 4 days and have 3 days off.
It's amazing. Like, it's crazy. I wish America would get more on board with that kind of thing, because we need to, the United States anyway, not all of America, since it's North America, South America, all the Americas.
Yeah. And, there's got to be something to be said, though, too. In Mexico, they eat their heavy meal at lunchtime and they rest for 2 hours and then they go back to work.
Hmm. What was that speaking event you did?
So it was Merge Worldwide, and it's Jesse Cruz and his wife Desiree both run it, and they just bring together speakers, and you can't just sign up for it. They choose the speakers, and you're just brought into a room. With the VIP package, you receive some coaching, mentorship, and stage skills and speech skills, obviously. And then we all come together as a group, everybody, VIP or not, and talk about some stage skills. And then we all merge on. The first day, it was a life experience. And the second day was how you want to help change the world. And what I've just presented to you was what I used the second day, my little 7-minute speech. First day, you have 12 minutes to speak. You're judged. We had 3 judges, a panel of 3 awesome judges. And at the end, there's first, second, third place. And the grand prize was a $2,000 check. But the important thing to learn is, no matter what, you get up, you show up, no matter how good or how bad you feel. And that's coming from experience there. And you just present yourself, you be authentic. And, I had every reason not to get on stage on Saturday. My stomach was very upset. And I just explained to, the host that you see me run, just make sure that there's no people between me and the bathroom. I'm fine. And, not once did I think about not going on stage, because I have something to share that's going to help somebody. And with the ripple effect, if I help you, you help one person, that person helps one person, just like the ripples behind you. It just gets bigger, and eventually we're helping the world.
I love that, Mary-Frances, and for me, that's me totally today. I woke up this morning and the first thing I sent Matthew was, I have no voice, and I really struggled to get it to come back as well as it is now. But I'm so glad that I did join this call, because the whole part of Robin Williams and how he hid his depression and his mental anguishes from the world and just did everything he could to bring a smile to everybody's faces. Like, that was me the majority of my life. And then how we branched off into the just being vulnerable. And that's, that's where I resonate now is I've started speaking up about the traumas I've gone through, about that, the personal hells that we all go through. I've started speaking on mine, and it's amazing when you feel better about your own life, but when somebody comes to you and tells you, wow, that was some fucked up shit. Thank you for sharing that. I needed that. That you don't know what that did for me. And, it's those moments that really make a person realize, wow, I went through all of that shit and it changed at least one person's life. This is an amazing thing. I mean, just to know that the hell we go through actually has a purpose. It's that whole pain into purpose thing. If we're not willing to stand up and be vulnerable for all that, screwed up shit that we had to go through, we're essentially still living it in our own heads. But to be able to get up and share it and speak it out loud and not, fully break down into tears, which I know sometimes I still have them, but life can be hard sometimes. But to be able to stand up and just tell everybody this fucking sucked. Someone want to come give me a hug? People are going to come out of nowhere and just be there for you and give you that support or that advice that you need to help keep going in your journey.
Yeah. And honestly, it's not advice, because if they've lived through it too, it's counsel.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like you go up to a trailhead and someone's coming down and they say, hey, watch out. When you go so-and-so, there's something in the trail that could hurt you. That's not advice. That's counsel. They're warning you that something is there and it's danger, and we got to watch out. So you can either heed their warning and know to watch your step, or you can say, door closed, and go on and, be carried back down on a gurney because you broke your foot.
Yeah, wisdom from experience.
Mm-hmm. And, again, like I was saying, men up there sharing stories, the men, the women, as they were sharing, they were crying. And it was, tears are not always sadness. Sometimes it's just your courage that builds up so much, that has brought you through everything, that you can't keep it in anymore, and you have to scream and you have to cry, and it's okay.
I've came up with a saying not too long ago for those who are afraid to cry, and literally this has helped so many. Tears water the garden of the soul, shed them and grow. And it's been, it's helped me through many of experiences as well. But I was on a call similar to this, just random chatting with people, and somebody just started breaking out in tears, and it came to me and I had to share it, and I've been using it ever since. So please feel free to lend that advice to somebody in need.
Definitely, definitely. But one of the most meaningful things to me was at the end of day 2, the videographer stops me as I'm walking out. He said, I just want to let you know, you had me in tears the entire time. So if your video's a little blurry, that's why. And he said, you definitely made me think about how I leave somebody. I didn't realize how important it is, your last words, because you do have to live with those forever. And I can tell that story another time. But, just to hear someone who went out of their way to come up and speak with me and tell me that, I changed a life that day. So my name wasn't on the check, but I'm a bigger winner than the check.
Boom.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the starfish story. You changed that. You threw that one starfish back. I mean, this is what I always go back to. It's always in my head. I'm like, well, I know we have now, as this community of positive waves, like you're sending out positive waves through your speaking and through your stories.
Yeah, the starfish story is very powerful, because the little boy turns to an old man, and who speaks back to, shall we say, an older grandpa, and says, as he's throwing the starfish into the water, he said, to that one starfish, I made a difference. So, it is powerful how, and that one starfish then was able to create more starfish that created more starfish. So, bravo to that little child who bravely just stood up and decided he needed to make a difference to that one starfish.
Exactly. Powerful stuff, all these stories that come out of the personal development world and other like old stories too. You've got all the original or not original, all the writings from like the Tao Te Ching, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, uh, all of those like have amazing parables and amazing things that can teach us how to use these vulnerabilities, these tools, these darknesses, these problems, obstacles, challenges to help another person, and that inherently will create that worldwide change that we're all looking to create here in this room right now. And a lot of our audience, I think, will use these tools to be able to grow their own lives. And that's what I'm so excited about, and why I'm so glad you guys are here to share this with me in this experience of creating something that is going to truly change that one starfish.
Yeah, yeah. And the sad thing is when my grandmother died, a lot of our family stories died with her, with both of them. When my mom and my dad died, again, stories died with them. We need to start writing these stories down. We need to start putting them into videos and sharing, not only the meaning of what it meant to my father when he heard it, but when he told me, the feelings I had, and just compare and contrast. It would be so powerful. And honestly, right now, because you just said what you said, it's like I want to go down and I want to go see Granny, and I just want to start recording and writing all of the stories that she has to tell, about. And I can still see her doing this. It was about 15 years ago. So well, actually 20 years ago, because her husband was still alive. She sat on the back of the tractor, and they had a machine on the back of the tractor that made the rows. And she would sit there with a box next to her, dropping the tobacco plants. Every 1, 2, she'd count to 10 and drop one, drop one, drop one. And, those are stories that when she dies, the kids don't care. But there was an experience there. For generations, they planted tobacco. Their hands all split when they harvested the tobacco and took the leaves, put them on the stake, hung them from the rafters in a drafty barn, and let them dry. It's a drafty barn on purpose. The boards are put up with space between them so the air can go through, so the leaves can dry. And these stories, she's told them to me. I've seen it. When I die, if I don't write it down, it's gone.
Yeah, it's a there was a book, Untold Stories, I believe. It's about like how people meet and interact and that kind of thing. But it's like no matter how close you are with somebody, whether it's a family relative, your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, your best friend, doesn't really matter. Uh, there's always going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of stories that you don't know about that person. And that's where a lot of like things come into play when you grow in a relationship. You run into those from time to time, and either you grow through them or you don't. And either way is fine because that's what's happened. But now, how do you want to take that into the future with you in order to grow and become a better you, a better version of who you want to be?
Right. Hmm. And, it is true. If you don't ask somebody how they're doing and sincerely mean it, because, the cashier at the grocery store says, "Hey, how are you today? Did you find everything you need?" I have actually said this to somebody. "I feel like crap. Thank you for asking. And are you hiding the shit I'm looking for?" And they kind of get taken back until I start laughing and they realize I didn't mean that in a negative way. It was just a joking way. But and then of course when I leave, I always tell them, may I be your worst customer of the day? Because if I made her laugh or made him laugh, and I'm the worst customer of the day, they're going to have the best day ever.
That's funny. I like that.
Yes, make them laugh. Make them laugh. Yeah, I try to make everybody laugh.
And with that, Joe, would you like to do a card pull?
Yeah, I pulled it just a moment ago, and says detox on the front. On the back side, it says drink a smoothie, unfriend that asshole, throw some shit out.
I love it. I love it. Again, with my stomach being as upset as it was Saturday, detox was the word that came to mind. And yeah, shit, all together, shit, get rid of it. I
Exactly.
love that.
Perfect, as always. And with that, thank you for joining us on Positive Waves. I hope you guys all have a fantastic week.
Thank you.
Would you like any last words, Mary
Peace,
Frances?
loving light, and many blessings, everybody.
Joe?
I'm in a fog, brother. I'm going to go take a nap.
Peace and love, everybody.
Thank you all.